Are you a full-time employee or entrepreneur who would like to make some extra money, but you're super busy and you don't want to spend your time doing anything that's super scammy, seems a bit sketchy or non-legit? MLMs. If you want to know how to make extra money without having to dabble into anything that compromises your current situation or your values, then today's video is for you, because I am going to be sharing 5 passive side hustles for busy people who just want the real deal, things that are tried and tested and don't want to waste time on little things like online surveys that pay you like £5 per hour or non-legit things or anything that's just random. If that is you, make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video, because I'm going to be sharing the last tip, which is something that a lot of people forget, which makes them leave thousands of dollars on the table. If you're watching this video because you really want to boost your income, you can't afford to do that, and I recommend that if you're dead serious, then make sure that you stay tuned right to the end of this video. Before I get into that, I'm going to talk about something that I'm doing tomorrow that's super special and follows on from last week's video, probably over here, that talks about how you can boost your salary by 35%. And one of the main strategies in that video was actually about how you can land a job abroad. So if you don't know, the average millennial makes on average about 35% more when they work in other countries. People have asked me, how can they do the same? How did I do it? In fact, when I moved, I earned about 40% more nearly immediately. So tomorrow I am going to be hosting a live webinar where I'm going to be breaking down the 5 things that you need to do so that you can land a job abroad. And the best part is it is fully live. If you sign up today and you turn up, you can ask me any questions that you want. Of course, if you're watching this video after the webinar time has passed, you will get a pre-recording, but make sure you register still, because you can't access the pre-recording without it. So little spill over, we will get into the meat and juice of this video, because you might be like, what is she talking about? Who is this girl? My name is Adele. I am a lawyer, an entrepreneur, an expat based in Dubai. On this channel, I share tips about financial independence, career advice, and generally anything that can help you level up and transform your life, your business, and your career and take it to the next level. And if this is something that you like to do, make sure you click the like button before you even watch the rest of this video. You subscribe and you turn on the notification bell so that you know when I have a lot more juicy content coming out. Okay, so let's dive straight into the topic of today's video, which is basically 5 smart passive side hustles for people who are super busy and don't want to invest in anything that's spammy, not legit, or not quite right for them. So the first thing you need to bear in mind is that a lot of things that will bring you extra money every month actually require you to invest either your time or some money. And essentially anything that's offered to you that doesn't fit under either one of those 2 criteria is most likely a scam. Honestly, check it out. There's nothing that you can just say, okay, I want to do this thing. You're going to sit down there and do it for like 2 minutes and you're going to make thousands of dollars. It's very, very unlikely. And if you know anything like that, please pop it in the comment below so that I can get in on that, as long as it's legit. If anything like that existed, you can imagine that the whole world will want to do it, and of course in that case it wouldn't be so hard for you to find information, because Bob and his mom would be doing the same thing. So just bear that in mind. I have made a lot of effort to actually collate a bunch of things that you can do straight away that essentially will get you extra revenue every month and are really, really legit and tried and tested. The first passive side hustle is something that you hear a lot about but seems a bit complicated, or if you're not super financial like me, you might think I don't want to dabble in that. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be complicated, and it is investing in the stock market. And this can be completely hands-off, and this is what I do. I basically just put my savings every month into an index fund, and there's people who can explain this way, way, way better than I can. I'm going to link Graham Stephan's video over here, and he's fantastic at breaking it down. One thing you need to know is that I don't have a super fancy financial advisor. You don't need one. I basically just have cemented a few steps into my memory, which is basically the funds that I'm investing in. So I'm invested in index funds, which are basically funds that are invested in lots of different stocks of companies in the stock market. God, I should be able to describe this in a lot more simple way, but I'm a finance lawyer. We super complicate things. Essentially, I invest in super simple fund trackers. Okay, I'm going to show you a screenshot of the things that I'm invested in so you can see, but I literally Personally, I'm just into 3 indices, I think. A global stock market, a UCIT fund, and actually it's not even 3, it's 2. So as far as I understand it, I think the stock market has returned an average of about 10% over the past 100 years or so. That could be more or less, don't quote me on this, but this is my understanding. And yes, there are dips, ups and downs, but if you leave your money in there, it has the capacity to grow. And that's what I've been experiencing, and this is one of the reasons why I recommend it as the #1 passive side hustle for super busy people, because you just put your money in there and you forget about it. Let it go and watch it grow. So onto passive side hustle number 2. Rent out your assets. Nearly everything that you own is rentable. Think about 10 years ago. The only thing that popped into your mind when you thought of renting something was generally a house. Now you can rent out your camera, your car, your house, but generally renting out my things is something that I do nearly every month to either subsidize my travels and give me extra money so my holidays pay for themselves. For example, I'm in a hotel room right now and my car is being rented out to someone who's going to be driving it while I'm away, because I'm away for about 2 weeks, which is a substantial amount of time, and I'm getting revenue for that. Like my car note payment is covered by this person renting my car, and also some extras. So I'm not worrying about things like that. That is extra side income that would have just been sat in my garage. So you can of course rent out your apartment on Airbnb. I think in England or in the US you have car rental services like Turo. You can even rent out your parking space, which is something that my cousin does. Basically, she doesn't have a car, but she lives right across the road from the financial district in Dubai, and basically a lot of the bankers need spaces to park their cars, and the parking lots or whatever are super tight or either super expensive. So she lives across the road, she just put a sign in her building and says if anyone wants to rent this, it's available, and it was taken in just a few days. So this just shows you that pretty much anything you own, if you give it some thought, you can find someone who's going to rent it for you and actually pay you a decent amount, depending on the asset, of course. I know some people feel super icky about renting out their things, but how do you feel about it? I feel like Airbnb is just the norm right now, and I don't mind if someone stays in my apartment or rents my car as long as it's clean. Like, I use Airbnb in many different cities a lot of the time, and I've never had any issues, touch wood, so it doesn't really bother me. I mean, even in a hotel room like this, right? If you're like, oh, I don't want someone sleeping in my bed, you're sleeping on the same bed that probably 1,000 people have already slept on. So if you remove your detachment to this kind of stuff, then you realize that you are leaving some money on the table. So let's not do that. Passive side hustle method number 3 for busy people is to leverage your knowledge. I know, you're probably like, what? Oh, I don't have time. You do have time. Everyone has at least an hour a day. If you are on Instagram, if you are talking to people, you have time to condense your knowledge into either a book, an online course, or some other avenue that allows you to share your expertise, because there's always someone looking to buy the knowledge and the value that you provide. So as you probably know, the education industry is predicted to be over $1 billion a day by, is it 2030 or so? Don't quote me on my statistics, but I know that the education industry is something that's booming, and I've witnessed it personally myself. I have a number of clients that work with me, and I created an online course that basically serves a lot more people that I can handle. And it's so surprising because I'm talking about a topic that I'm super passionate about, which is basically traveling, leveling up, earning more money, especially if you're young, because it sets you up for the rest of your life. I can go on and on about this topic, and one day as I was researching online, it hit me like, why don't you share this knowledge? Because people ask you this question all the time, and there are people who will be willing to pay you, and it's also super rewarding. So if you're thinking, I don't have time to write a book, you don't have to. There are many well-known authors that don't actually write anything. They basically put their thoughts into like a recorder, they think about things that they want to talk about, they put it into a recorder, and they hire an editor. So remember, I said that if it doesn't require a lot of time, it will require you to invest some of your money. So you can hire an editor that will convert your notes and your thoughts into a book, something that basically condenses everything that you have to share and puts it in a way that an audience will be able to receive it and actually act on it, plus pay you money for it. So don't think too deep about this point because it's something that anyone can do. Legit. If you've ever written a report, if you've ever given guidance to a friend or anything like that, you can definitely do it. It just requires you to just think a bit strategically. So if you're on an Uber to work every day, you can set aside like 2 weeks where every day, even if your Uber is only a 10-minute journey, you talk about something that is relevant or can help people. Obviously, think about a niche that people are actually inquiring about. Don't just talk about how to like wipe your dog's bum and write a book about it. I'm sure someone would buy it, but think about something that has a broader audience and think about the format that you would like to present this knowledge into. Whether it's a book like I mentioned before, an online course, or even an audio. Can you have an audio blog? I guess so, right? Because you could do your voice notes, you send it to a transcriber like rev.com, they give you text, you post it on a blog. Literally takes you 2 seconds. So that's something that you can do and people pay you for that. I think we all know and we've been bombarded with ads from people who have created successful online courses. And I know that many people still feel like, ew, online courses are icky. I have an online course and I love my course, but the best part of it is actually the people that I get to work with. And you know, there's been times when we've been on group calls where I've been super like tired or I've had a really busy day, but then I'm speaking to them and their enthusiasm and like we cry together, we laugh together. Like honestly, my clients will tell you that I have cried. They will tell you. So it's fun, you know, and it's a nice way to actually condense the stuff that you're using in your full-time job into something that can help people without you spending the whole day trying to create this thing. So that's a way that you can make a passive side income. The fourth way of making passive side income slightly follows on from this point, but I wanted to give it its own dedicated section of this video, which is basically mentoring. I know, again, you're going to say, this sounds like it's time intensive, but think about it, right? If you don't want to have to go through the whole process of condensing your thoughts into like a book and hiring an editor or creating an online course and basically building out that platform, you could just get someone to work with you who wants to work with you on a one-to-one basis as their mentee. So you're the mentor and they're the mentee. And essentially that doesn't take anything out of you other than maybe an hour every week where you guide them and you give them solutions and strategies for the things that they need help on. So essentially you're leveraging your knowledge and it's not very active. It's just a phone call. And you can agree a time that you do that every week. And essentially that's also a really good way as well because it helps you condense your experiences into something that can help another person. And it doesn't have to be formalized, and this is why I said that this is a passive side hustle. And the easiest way to do this is you could either, if you're on Instagram and you see people commenting on a relevant post, you know, that you can give advice on. So for example, I know that I go on Hello Nicole all of the time and I see people asking some questions about careers or questions about working abroad, and sometimes I chime in. I don't have any mentors from Instagram platforms yet, but it's something that I am exploring. And you could DM someone and say, hey, look, like I offer a mentoring service. I'm happy to be your mentor. We can chat every week. And I think some people really don't know that others appreciate the value of having an accountability partner and just someone who can listen to them, someone who provides them with guidance, you know, because we live in a very isolated world and you might feel like, oh, I'm surrounded by people, but I'm still alone. But if you know that there's someone on the other side of the phone that can help you out, it's something that you generally quite value. And of course, in a business context, this is super relevant because entrepreneurs are super lonely, right? So because it's a lonely game, like you spend a lot of time working, especially when you're just starting out by yourself. So if you were a strategy consultant, for example, and this is what you do every day, you advise big corporations on strategy consulting, every weekend you could spare an hour to work with an entrepreneur. I was going to say a lonely entrepreneur, but they don't have to be lonely, who needs the kind of strategic advice that you provide in your day job, but can't afford the tens of thousands that big consulting companies typically charge. And it doesn't take anything out of your time other than an extra hour on weekends or whenever you guys seem to piece a schedule or an appointment together. Have you guys ever worked with a mentor or coach, or is this just something that like I and like my friends have done? Because most people that I know have either worked with a mentor, and sometimes you have these organized by your actual organization. So I can attest to the fact that they are super valuable, and I have mentees through my one-to-one coaching program, like I mentioned, and that's essentially, it's a bit more deep than just speaking to them 1 hour hour every week because we're trying to get them to a different country or a different point in their career. And obviously I do this full time now, so I can dedicate a lot more time and effort to them. But mentoring and coaching is not something that's new to me. Even before I left corporate law, it was something that I engaged in quite regularly. So comment below if this is something that you've done before and if you found it helpful. The fifth passive side hustle is not actually a side hustle at all, but wait, hear me out before you click out and you think, what is she talking about? Is something that a lot of people really just don't consider properly, and essentially causes them to watch videos like this on how to increase their income rather than actually doing something that is long overdue. So I talked about this in my previous video, and one of those things is the fact that many people actually undersell or undervalue themselves. So if you're an entrepreneur, for example, I know so many entrepreneurs, especially many people who are just starting out, kind of like me, I'm less than a year in my entrepreneur game, where you undersell or undervalue your services because you're not sure whether people are going to pay for it, you don't have that confidence and you're fearful. But the thing is, if you are good at what you do and you have a lot of experience, obviously you're watching this video because you're busy, and I'm hoping that you're busy either educating yourself or working full time where you're assimilating and accumulating all of this knowledge that you can actually pass on to people, right? So if you've learned something, someone like me, if you've done something for nearly 10 years and you know how it works inside out, don't sell yourself short when you go out to the market. And if you're an employee as well, if you know that you're valuable in the marketplace and you're not getting paid enough at your current company, don't sell yourself short either. So what do you do in those situations? As an entrepreneur, you definitely need to raise your prices, and this way you increase your income and you don't have to worry about doing random side hustles because hopefully you'll be happier with the income that you're generating. As an employee, if you're not getting paid well enough, you have two options. Move to a different country, like I mentioned, especially if you're a millennial, because it allows you to earn more money. This is the drum that I've been beating now for weeks. Or you could just change jobs locally and move to a different company that will hopefully pay you more. And even if they're not paying you more, sometimes it's not about the money, it's about your benefits. So if you then get private health insurance, which means you're no longer paying for your medical payments and things like that, generally you will have more disposable income and hopefully you'll be happier. So when we're thinking about generating more income every month and starting a passive side hustle, it's important to take a step back and evaluate your current income sources and see how you're generating money. Can you increase it, or can you optimize your systems to attract more money to you? If not, then act on it to fix that situation. And if you've fixed it to the best of your ability and you still need more money because of maybe personal circumstances or whatever, then you can explore the various avenues that we've discussed in this video. So I hope that it has helped you. Remember, I have a webinar up tomorrow if you want to know how you can move abroad and the 5 steps that you need to do. For me, moving abroad allows me to triple my income in just over 2 years. And if this is something that sounds awesome, then make sure you turn up tomorrow and I'll see you then. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff if you've enjoyed it. Make sure you share and stay tuned for Work Abroad Wednesdays, which is coming up in a couple of days. So thank you again for watching and see you next time. Bye.